Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on DisneyPlus.com, and it's Sunday, and that means it's time for me to answer some questions from our What's on Disney Plus Club members, which you can join by either becoming a YouTube member or you can become a Patreon. But before we do any of that, if you haven't already done so, make sure you do hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to check us out either on Patreon or hitting that join button to join in as well. Okay, so let's start off with the first question from Lauren from Patreon. If Mulan is popular, what do you think the next Premier Access movie, and when do you think they'll announce it? Also, any idea when they might see any trailers from the Marvel TV shows? And also, when do you think Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be added to the United States? Okay, so that's three great questions. So let's jump off into some of the easier ones to begin with. So as far as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. go, in the UK and other countries it's already available and there's little issues, but the US, the big problem is the existing contract with Netflix. The 7th season has just finished, so it'll have to go to Netflix for probably 2 years before it can be added to Disney Plus. It's going to be a while before we see it there. The question about trailers for the upcoming Marvel shows, that one's a little bit harder to predict. I haven't got any insight into when it's going to be happening, but I think it's really going to come down to when are we going to get those shows. If WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier are kind of be coming maybe in December, they might want to hold off until October, November. I am very, very sure that we will see them before November, because you've got to think, in October, November, people are going to be coming up to that annual subscription renewal. And people are going to want to know if something good is coming for Disney Plus to warrant them doing it again. So that's the key thing. I think every November, you're going to have that kind of issue, especially in the US. Obviously, we've got Mandalorian, so that will keep people on, and you're going to have the right stuff. But I think a Marvel show then would be the big thing. It's really going to depend on when they can get back and do some filming. I think WandaVision is going to be starting up probably earlier than Falcon and the Winter Soldier because of what they've already shot. But yeah, so I'm going to imagine. I don't know. We've also got that upcoming Investors Day, so if that's going to be in October as well, that could be a way of doing it. But yeah, so I think we're probably a while off yet. We're going to see the Mandalorian first, since that one should be landing in October. With regards to Premier Access, now this one is a little bit difficult because it depends whether or not they're going to go down the lines of, and I think this is what's going to be happening, of where they start offering movies on Premier Access when they would have been coming out on digital platforms anyway, for example iTunes. I think we're going to start seeing that all the time. But as far as like a Premier Access like Mulan, I think Seoul will be a very, very easy pick, because if people aren't going to be going to the cinemas by then, especially with it being the middle of the winter, and I mean, I know, like, for example, here in the UK, people are getting all kind of prepared for the winter. They are expecting to be pretty bad with the virus, so therefore they aren't expecting it to be getting any better. So yeah, I think we're just going to have to see. Disney have already moved the Kingsman away, so whether or not they do the same thing with Seoul, I don't know. I think Seoul is very easy for them to move over. It really depends on how much Mulan brings in. Black Widow could be another one. It could really help bring people into Disney Plus if it's only available through there, and I think it would work. But Disney are in that kind of weird thing. They don't want to do it, but it's going to come down to how well Mulan does. If Mulan does good, they'll do it again. If it doesn't perform as well as they wanted, they won't do it. That's the real key thing, really, is whether or not people jump in for Mulan. The Juice also asked on Patreon, sort of bounce off Lauren's question, if Mulan is that popular, could they do the exact same thing with Black Widow, or will they adjust it to make it more profitable for them? I think Black Widow is very likely to be a Disney Plus Premier Access program. It really depends, as I said, on that Mulan and how well it does. It's just so all over the place. Things are just not working right. Whether or not Disney, if they pull in enough on it, they'll do it again, and that's ultimately where it's going to come down to. I still think they might even do that with the New Mutants when they get to the end of the 3 months, especially internationally, where they can get away with it. Obviously in the US, a little bit different with HBO, but yeah, Black Widow and Soul are very much going to be likely. It really depends on those numbers as it starts getting cooler in America and Europe, and people start staying in more and don't go out as much. It's been nice and easy over the summer to do that. Things are going to be different, and numbers are rising in Europe, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Jacob also asked, what do you think Disney's pricing strategy will be on their upcoming Star service? Do you think they'll have a similar pricing strategy as Disney Plus, of a lower monthly cost, trying to target a larger audience? Or do you think they will charge the same price as they are currently for Hulu? Do you think Disney will keep titles on the Star service like on Disney Plus, or rotate them like they do with other services. So as far as rotating, I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's going to be having the exact same things with Disney Plus, where it's all their own content, and there might be some existing licensing, but might be more so for the US, but it's not going to be launching there anyway. It's going to be international. Yeah, I'm not expecting things to rotate in and out the same way, because contracts have been sorted out. As far as pricing strategy goes, I think it's going to be pretty cheap as well. I think they're going to be trying to combine the two together to be cheaper than Netflix. That's the way that's the way I'm going to be looking at this one. You know, if you put the two of them together, say for example here in the UK, £6.99 a piece, that means then you're kicking up to around about £13-14. So therefore, you're in the high end of Netflix. But if you're getting everything in like 4K, you know, and you've got to pay a bit more for that for Netflix, I think that's where it's going to come in. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was $4.99, because they'd want to kind of get more people in on it. And it depends if they're going to be adding new stuff onto it quickly, or if they're still going to be licensing out to like the BBC and other countries. Yeah, so I'm not expecting a huge amount. It depends on how much they're going to be putting on there. Sarah also asked on Patreon, after you announced that Bend It Like Beckham was coming to Disney Plus, I searched Fox Searchlight films. It seems to me that most of the popular or critically acclaimed content is more appropriate on Hulu or in the US or Star internationally than on Disney Plus. Possible Disney Plus add-ons include Napoleon Dynamite, Millions, My Life in Ruins, Amelia, Belle, He Named Me Mandela, United Kingdom, Gifted, Goodbye Christopher Robin, Isle of Dogs, and Token. Do you agree? Will we ever see a Searchlight banner on the homepage of the app? I really want to see Searchlight's The Personal History of David Copperfield with Dave Patel, but I'm not willing to risk my family's health at seeing it in the theatre. Have you seen it? How good was it? Do you think it will come to Disney Plus or Hulu when it's done with its theatrical run either on digital rentals? It's kind of funny with that David Copperfield movie. It actually came out in the UK back before the coronavirus came in, and so it was out in cinemas. It's been out for a while. I'll be honest, I did see the trailer for it. It's kind of something I'd probably watch when it was on TV. It kind of didn't really jump out to me, but it's something I would watch. The thing is, again, internationally, things with Fox, sometimes they line up with Channel 4, and so they get access to it, so it's always a bit complicated. But there's a few movies you mentioned there. Millions was already on Disney Plus. Goodbye Christopher Robin is already on Disney Plus in some countries as well. So they are going to be doing it. I think as far as that banner in Disney Plus, it's going to be part of Star. It might get added eventually, and you're going to start seeing different things in there, depending on if you've got Star or Disney Plus within the app. I think it will be there. I think Disney are going to start feeling that they want it in there, and it's going to appeal to it, because there's a lot of Fox content going on there, so it kind of makes more sense to splinter it, especially if you take out that Star subscription. A lot of them are going to be more Hulu based, and yeah, I think so many more of them kind of fit into the Star and Hulu brand. But if they can combine everything into one app, it really is going to depend on if you pay for it, I think, whether or not you see it. But I do think you're going to see a Searchlight movie in there. There's lots of other ones, but Searchlight is generally more indie movies and sort of cheaper made ones. I think we're going to see a lot more of them coming up in the future, because ultimately they're perfect for Hulu, Star, Disney Plus, rather than going to cinema. Or if they do go to cinema, they'll be like a shorter run, because ultimately that HBO deal in the US, you know, in some ways the coronavirus has kind of really eaten into that deal, because suddenly they've lost pretty much 2020 of all those releases. Everything getting pushed back has kind of meant now, I'd imagine a lot of things are going to be missing from that eventually. And finally, Drew asked from YouTube, I'm curious if you think Disney Plus will launch anywhere in December, or if November's Latin America is it until next year. Really eager to hear positive news from the Eastern European and South Asian people. Hopefully they will announce some form of 2021 rollout timeline at the next Investors Day. No doubt for sure we're going to be finding out a lot more about the rollout of Disney Plus. The rest of the countries, you've still got the whole of Africa, you've still got Middle East, and still some other areas of Asia to go. So yeah, I think the thing is, from the investors, course, setting up the whole year, so they're going to want to be showing that they can continue to grow, and international expansion is going to be part of that. And that will kind of continue to go through. I think, obviously, Middle East and Africa, still a lot of people, especially Asia, you know, there's whole areas whether they can get into, especially if they can get a partnership with a Chinese company to go into China, that would be it. But also, are we going to see, like, Disney Plus Hotstar kind of roll out more? You know, are they going to hold out and go with the whole Disney Plus Star? You know, is this now going to become the way that they do this to kind of get people into it? Very interesting. This whole Star thing right now, I'm kind of really interested to see how this goes, because for me personally, There's so much stuff of those other brands that Disney own. And I'm like, I love those shows. I love those movies. Having them in Disney Plus as part of an add-on Star subscription is really going to help. And I'm wondering if they're going to end up doing some integration with Hulu to kind of get around it in the US and kind of follow that line. You know, maybe if you've got a Hulu subscription, they kind of show stuff within the Disney Plus if it's their own original content. I don't know. It's all very interesting. Yeah, I'm hoping they kind of do some more rollout and pretty much available everywhere. I mean, that's the way these apps should be. And also, it will just help continue to grow. And especially going into the next year, Disney need to continue doing stuff with this digital and direct-to-consumer, because everything else is messed up, and it's the one kind of thing that the shares and the stockbrokers and everybody love. Yeah, I think we're going to continue to hear about all of this going forward. Again, I think, you know, Disney Plus Hotstar in India has been a huge success, so they'll be wanting to kind of replicate that. The fact that it's coming to Indonesia next week, yeah, it's going to see how that all kicks in. But yeah, I think the way they've talked about using Star and Hotstar, and to me, there's just this whole thing of them going, yeah, maybe they're just thinking Hotstar maybe doesn't necessarily work internationally, but Star does. Don't know. It's all going to have to wait and see, but hopefully we'll find out when that investors call is soon, because, yeah, you know, for a couple of months. I'm hoping I'm sure we're gonna have to hear about it before the next investors event in like 2 months' time. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's either the end of September or beginning of October. But there we go. So that's all the questions for this week from our What's on Disney Plus Club members. Again, a big thank you for all of your support if you are a member. And if you do want to become a member, you can do so from about $2 either on Patreon or here on YouTube, where you can just hit that little join button. If you do the little join button, you also get some emojis, you get little icons, you get loads of other little benefits and stuff as well. And it just helps support the channel and the podcast and the website as a whole. And again, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Laters.